So this is the rough layout for the bucket for the case feeder for my Dillon 650. So I just did this to kind of test out how easy it would be to cut the material, how well it might work in drilling, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. So here's what we're ended up with. This is a 5-gallon bucket from not Home Depot, from Walmart. This is the Walmart Blue, which is pretty close to the Dillon Blue. How about that? Huh? How about that? So anyway, so here's where we are. Earlier I was showing you some material, these square sheets of polyethylene, the stuff that cutting boards are made out of. I bought some 12 by 12 by 1/4 inch material. So from one of those pieces, I cut this circle. You can see the hole in the middle. And what that's going to become is, that's going to be the bottom of the case feeder. I wanted something nice and flat for stability, and when the case feed shell plate is rotating in here, I wanted to have a nice, even, smooth surface to rotate on so that shells wouldn't be getting caught up underneath. So this is the 10-inch diameter, 10 1/8 inch diameter circle that I cut from that material, and as you can see, it fits perfectly inside of the bottom of the bucket. What that's going to do is give me good material to bolt the motor, and everything is going to get bolted underneath. So those bolts are going to go through that thin plastic and into this stiffer material, so that everything is nice and tight. Here's a motor that I'm using, well, planning to use. This motor is from a barbecue rotisserie, so it's a low RPM, high torque motor. These things are made to, rotate 10, 15, 20 pound pieces of meat over barbecue grills, and so that's uneven weight. As the meat is rotating, this thing has got to be able to manage that shifting weight and not get stuck in a down position. Just keep rotating. So that's why I selected a motor like this. The second reason why I selected a motor like this is because if you look at the breakout of the Dillon 650 parts, lo and behold, the motor assembly looks identical to one of these things. So that is the primary reason, one of the primary reasons why I'm using a motor of this type. So we'll see whether or not this spindle is, I'm sure the spindle is going to be long enough. The spindle might be a little bit too long, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. If I have to cut some of this off, this is not a big deal at all. We can do that, but no problem. So reiterating, this is going to be the shroud for the motor. The motor is going to sit inside of this, and this is going to be attached to the bottom of the bucket. And we'll show you that once we rough it out. It's kind of hard to see what that is currently, but that's how that's going to all work out. So when we come back, you'll get a chance to see. You'll get a chance to see what that looks like. You'll get a chance to see what that all looks like when I start roughing the pieces together. So for now, I'm just showing how this piece is all working together, and why I put this solid piece of 1/4 inch polyethylene circle on the bottom of this, and I think that's gonna be real good. I put a trial, one of my templates in here just to see how well it would fit, and it's a perfect fit. I rotated it by hand just to make sure it wasn't going to be, it was a nice smooth surface, and that's exactly what it is I'm looking for. Without this thing on the bottom, you can see by the way the light is hitting this that there are sags, and there's low spots and high spots on here. So if I was trying to rotate a plate inside of here, with the weight of the shells in it, because this thing is going to be tipped on a 45-degree angle, so most of the weight is going to be at the bottom of this. So having a smooth, even surface for the shell plate to rotate on would be very, very important, and would also make the motor work a lot less than it might otherwise. So with this on the bottom, it's perfectly smooth, perfectly even surface. So even this is tilted, I'm not going to be running into bumps and high spots as the motor is trying to push this shell plate along with the weight of the shells. I think with the Dillon 650 case rotator, this is designed to, I think, be used with upwards of 200 shells at once. 200 shells of 200 pieces of brass, that can be a little heavy. So if the motor is going to be tilted on an angle like this, and trying to move all that weight that's all tilted to one side of the rotating spindle, I think having a nice smooth surface is going to help a lot with that. So that's the reasoning behind what I'm doing here. So when we come back, we'll take a look at the progress. So my next step is going to be attaching this piece to the bottom and determining where the hole is going to be for the shells. There's my center line right there. So that's going to represent the center where I want the shells to drop out. But I'll end up cutting that later. For now, I'm going to be attaching this piece to the bottom of my case feeder bucket. So that's what it's going to look like. Nice swooping angles. So it's going to be living in an orientation like this. So this front part doesn't have to be as deep, because all the shells are going to be dropping back towards the back of the bucket as this thing is rotating. So soon I'll be sort of determining where that hole is going to be underneath. You see with this trial, with this sample piece, I cut this hole in it, and that's where the shells will be dropping through. This hole might be a little bit big, but again, this was a test. That's why I did it on an old bucket that was laying around. That way I didn't care whether or not it was in the right place. So that's where we are so far. So far, so good.